It's the Final Word Daily. Adam Collins, Jeff Lemon, Indore Day 2. There'll be a Day 3. There won't be a Day 4. Here's why. 30 seconds, Jeff.
In 30 seconds, Australia resumed this morning. Batted through the first hour. Everything looked cool and calm. Handscomb and Green. And no worries. And then Handscomb gets out. They lose 6 for 11. They're only 88 runs in front. India come out, lose both openers early. But Kohli's still there. They're 2 for 54. No worries. Nathan Lyon enters the fray. Well, Kuhneman gets Kohli out. And then Lyon runs through the rest, aside from 1 for Mitchell Starc. 8 for 64, Nathan Lyon. Bowls him out for 163. Australia needs 76 on Day 3. And they didn't even have to bat before stumps. How about that?
Looks like we're doing this as something of a studio audience. I didn't expect to have people around us, but here we are. We're in India. There's always people around. Thanks to Visit Victoria, Visit Melbourne. That's how we make this podcast, with their fine support. There's a lot going on here. We'll do the best we can. We're going to have to lean into this, Jeff. Nathan Lyon is 23rd 5-wicket bag in Test cricket. His second 8 for an India to go with the 7 at Delhi back in 2013. I don't think he could have bowled any better. And that comes after Australia lose 6 for 11. Almost identical to the collapse at Bangalore of 6 for 12 back in 2017. They would have been rattled. All out 197, failing to make 200 again. It all falling away after that really impressive, what I thought, really impressive first hour. They added 30 runs, but Green and Handscomb trusted their defence, and they get to that first beachhead only for it all to slip away with some brilliant bowling and brilliant bowling changes from Rohit Sharma.
And you talked about Nathan Lyon on this day. Ashwin as well was tremendous again. I mean, he gets held off. Rohit Sharma doesn't go to him initially. When he brings him on, Ashwin gets that inside edge, draws the inside edge to short leg, Handscomb goes, and then the move to bring back Umesh Yadav out of nowhere, who's been on holiday basically. He's been on a banana lounge, down at Fine Leg, just chilling out there, not much at all. But the Indian team, they call him the strongman. Strongy is the nickname they like to use for him. And he has a way of making an impact. He came on, got the ball to reverse just enough, and then bang, twice off stump out of the ground, and Green gets hit on the back pad. A sliver of an orange light on the leg stump, but still out, and 3 wickets for Umesh as well.
Yeah, there was so much to the Umesh story, which I love today. First of all, that's his 100th wicket in India. He takes him at 24. He's been playing in these Border-Gavaskar contests since 2010. I mean, he's a legitimate veteran. He bowled to Ricky Ponting when he was captain of the Test side before the 10-11 Ashes when they came out to India. I mean, that's a really long time ago. So Umesh Yadav, given the chance, Mohammad Shami, a bit of stiffness, bit of soreness, bit of resting, whatever it ended up being, they trust him because he runs in and he can reverse the ball. And this was important. India have only required the second new ball in 6 of their last 36 bowling innings. Ooh. Not at all in this series. And I went on commentary and said, well, they're going to need the second new ball today at the 73 over mark or whatever it was, when Ashwin came into the attack for the first time in the day. And it's all over in the 78th over or something like that. So again, that record continues. But a couple of things with Ashwin as well. You could, if you're a really harsh marker, say that Handscomb was already in. He should have started to look to transfer some pressure back onto the Indians in the first hour. But he was doing the right thing. He was absorbing pressure, and he gets out to a marvellous piece of bowling. Extra spin, extra bounce. They held Ashwin back. They picked the right moment to reintroduce him, because Jadeja was bowling into the ground at that stage, having bowled 32 of the first 70 overs that India sent through. And you're allowed to get out to a good ball, and that's what happens to Handscomb, and that opens them up. And as we know in India, once you're opened up, anything can happen.
Once you're opened up, you're a can of tuna, and someone will dump it down their gullet. Look, I would have said, particularly if you're looking back on it, you could say, well, they should have started to try to tick the score over a bit more. Green was very much doing his Berlin Wall situation, where he just comes forward and blocks. He eventually played one big shot down the ground and hit a 4 through the covers. But I think that Australian batting pair were relishing actually being in control. That just hasn't really happened for Australia in the series. So batting through an hour where things were calm and things were good and their defence was working and all of the rest of it, that was a novelty for this team. They needed to indulge in that to show that it could be done. That was almost making a point that it is possible to bat. We'll worry about the scoring later. And in the end, it came back to bite them. But you could see why they wanted to indulge in that enjoyment of the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there was nothing wrong with the way they approached it. They were trying to take the sting out of the Test match. Yesterday was all sting. And the first hour today was pretty quiet. There weren't many people in for the first hour. The crowd swelled later. But they with a snifter of luck, Handscomb's inside edge isn't located. But again, it comes back to Rohit using his bowl as well. Umesh Yadav only bowled 2 overs yesterday. They love him bowling reverse. I remember that spell he bowled at Pune back in 2017 when he had stumps cartwheeling as well. Occasionally, you're going to get a bowler like that with all that experience who will go through a lower order. So Umesh and Ashwin did it together, 6 for 11 in 39 balls, and Australia failed to make it to 200 for the
again.
Yeah, it's 4 out of 5 times at bat now, and they did a pretty good job to get 197. Don't get me wrong in the circumstances, but and that's another little milestone they missed out on, which they look destined to reach 1 hour into play.
Exactly. So 88 behind. Look, that's the kind of deficit that it's very useful. Don't get me wrong on this surface, but it's the kind of thing that India could overturn.
Yep.
And we were getting very strong Bangalore 2017 vibes where Pujara came out in that Test match and made 92. With a 50 from Rahane and got them into enough of a lead, and today it was Pujara doing it again. I mean, Shubman Gill placed one of the worst shots of his life, charging down to try to slog Nathan Lyon into space, and that didn't work. Rohit Sharma's on the crease and gets pinned LBW, but it's still at 54 for 2. You've got Kohli and Pujara together. They're looking relatively in control, and you're thinking, well, India can push. These two can rub off the deficit, and then they can try to build. And if they get anything sort of over 100 ahead, that will be a stiff task to chase batting last.
That's what I loved about the rhythm of the day. I mean, there were parts of the day when India actually felt right on top, and there were parts of the day when Australia felt right on top. The rhythm of the day. That passage of play when Kuhneman's bowling, Murphy's bowling to Kohli, and he's got him on the rack. In the end, it's Kuhneman who benefits from Kohli going back to a ball that shoots through, reminiscent of Steve O'Keefe. Reminiscent of, I'm not sure why we're getting applauded here, reminiscent of Steve O'Keefe in 2017, that Ethan Meldrum meme, which started there at Pune in the second inning when he went back in the crease and was floating through space thereafter. That was a similar piece of bowling. Kuhneman dragged one down the ball before, which was clouded through the covers off the back foot for 4. The crowd were alive, then the crowd was silenced. Then Kuhneman didn't bowl particularly well after that, having started so nicely.
And I mean,
Murphy was out bowling.
But Kuhneman early, I mean, he's turning it a foot.
And
he's a left-arm spinner who doesn't turn it a whole lot generally. But he was bowling fast, flat Xavier Doherty's like 95 kilometres an hour from around the wicket, zeroing in, and they were still turning a foot off the surface. It was extraordinary stuff.
And then he lost his length and lost his way. And the player who took full advantage of that was Shreyas Iyer. Now, Shreyas Iyer walking in on a pair, 10 dot balls to start, shaky as all get up. I think Ravi said it looks like he was dancing on ice when he started playing. Then he just flicked the switch.
Plenty of people do that.
He got a long hop from Kuhneman, hits it for 4, gets another one, hits it for 6. He hits 5 boundaries in no time, and suddenly... 2 sixes, right. Yeah. Suddenly you're thinking, well, India are not only in the lead here, they got to the lead with a 6. It's like, well, if Shreyas Iyer's batting in 45 minutes, if Shreyas Iyer's batting in 75 minutes, the game might actually be away from Australia, such as it is in a low-scoring match.
It's the bench depth of Indian cricket that they can bring in Shreyas Iyer and be like, well, this is the new guy. This is the kid. The kid's 28. The kid's got a first-class average of over 50, and he's hit over 200 sixes in T20 professional cricket. So you ally those two skill sets, and he's able to he comes in and just goes, well, let's counterattack. Let's get onto the spinners. Let's put them over the fence. And like you say, it's a kind of situation where making 40 in quick time can change the game. So the point where he gets out, I mean, there's still that point when he's there, Australia are like, oh, this could go wrong, I think, if you're an Australian supporter. Mitchell Starc comes back on. The clip off the pads absolutely middles it.
Yep.
And Usman Khawaja takes maybe the catch of his life. He's taken a few good ones since about 2018. That when India came to visit. That's when Khawaja's fielding went up.
Off Pujara in the gully, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. When he'd got fitter, he'd lost some weight, he was moving better in the field, and he started catching a lot better and being able to take those diving catches. But this one, I mean, that's full stretch, away to his left. He's got it in one hand and then managed to sort of cup the other hand under it as he hits the ground, which was very important because it went up to Richard bloody Kettleborough, who loves giving a low catch not out, and if there had been any way to not give it out, he wouldn't have given it. Yeah,
Big Dick's had a big week. He's had about 50 referrals sent to him, and this for, understandably low catch and all the rest, but just to back over the technique, both hands were facing the wrong way. He was off balance when he made his dive.
He had one foot on the ground.
One foot, and he kicks the heels up at the end with the style points, but to that stage, I mean, those aren't meant to stick. It's like a soccer goalkeeper on the penalty spot, with someone taking a penalty, being wrong-footed, diving late and somehow keeping it out of the bottom corner.
Yeah.
But goalkeepers don't catch those. They somehow get a finger to them. They parry them away. Khawaja comes up with the catch. It's an all-timer, only bettered by the best leg slip catch I think I've ever seen, which is Smith from Pujara later in the day. I'm not even sure if we've mentioned it yet. Wow. But Khawaja followed by Smith in relative quick succession in that final session.
Yep.
I mean, Pujara was doing a VVS again.
Yeah, and there are a couple that go down in between time because Kaspar gets beaten. There's the catch that goes down, but there are wickets that go down as well. The wicket keeper Bharat coming forward and missing the ball that sort of skids on straighter and hits middle and off stump, and then Pujara's batting with Ashwin. Ashwin gets done leg before wicket, but Pujara's still there, and there's still that point of okay, well they're only up by 60, which becomes 70, but if they can get to 120 and Pujara's there. The criticism I would have of Pujara is that there was a point where he probably needed to step up the scoring and hadn't quite done it yet. He did eventually come down and hit one massive six, which was very, very pleasing to see Pujara hitting a six. It's like in The Wedding Singer when Adam Sandler's grandma is rapping. You're like, that shouldn't be happening. Those two things don't belong together.
I'm glad that it is.
And the incongruity of it is very pleasing. Enjoyed seeing it, but he played so well up until that point. His defence, it was a defensive masterclass on a difficult wicket, and my goodness, what a player he is when backs are against the wall.
And there was a stat that flashed up on the television screens when he was on about 50. It said that he'd middled 88% of the balls that he played at.
Right.
Gives you a sense of just how well he was seeing it. And look, maybe he could have chanced his hand and gone earlier, but part of the charm of Pujara's innings was that he did what Green and Handscomb did earlier in the day, but he went on to a half century in the same way that Khawaja's 50 felt like 100 yesterday. When Pujara reached his half century, it felt masterful.
Sure.
And that it ends on 59 is against the flow of play. Remembering that when Ashwin gets out, that is just the point when Pujara looks to counter-attack, hits a couple of boundaries, and Ashwin gets done by a great review. Australia were keen on it. They're going to get the bus going past with the Indian team here.
For some reason, even though the whole road has been cleared for them, they need to lean on the horn all the way out.
Of course.
It is very important to stay on the horn. That is the advice you would get from any people.
So Pujara and Ashwin, this is one of three partnerships in that final session that looked promising. And as I say, the Pujara boundaries, the next over, there's that challenge from Lyon. The review from Lyon, I thought that was missing. He ripped that delivery, but hitting leg stump, caught on the crease. The sixth time that Lyon's got Ashwin out in Test cricket earlier today was the sixth time that Ashwin's got Lyon out in Test cricket. They are going stroke for stroke in so many ways in the series.
They're still 10 wickets apart, so they're
and Ash might take all 10 tomorrow.
Yeah, well he could catch them up. So Lyon ends up with 8. I mean, extraordinary record. So he went past Shane Warne today for the most wickets by a non-Asian bowler in Asia. He's up to 136 or 7 now, so he's gone a long way past Shane Warne in the space of that innings. They're the only two with more than 100. And I'll tell you what, well, I might come back to this in the Hall of Fame, actually.
Yeah, I think he's pulled level with Richie Benaud or something as well for most wickets for Australia and India. And 50-something.
110 against India he's got so far, with 9 5-wicket hauls just against India.
Big numbers.
Extraordinary stuff.
And that fifer was completed by the Steve Smith beauty at leg slip round the corner, which again, that's the last bit of the turning point. And just to kind of elaborate on that
Smith
over.
Caught that like he was posing on the cover of a rap album. It was like, what? And he just somehow stayed in his hand.
And in that over, next ball, he wins the leg before decision against Umesh Yadav, which is overturned. So he could have been on a hat trick. And then next ball, Umesh clouts him at the deep mid wicket. It hangs in the air forever, but it's the tallest man on the ground, Cameron Green, who takes it above his shoulder. I mean, it probably would have been taken by a smaller man as well, but it was more striking because it was Cameron Green who he tried to clear. So he gets a second ball duck, double wicket maiden for Lyon, and suddenly they're a wicket away from a double-digit chase. It takes them a while to break up Siraj and Akshar. He hits one big six and they get the lead up to 75.
Sure.
But I mean, that was the moment. Pujara, Umesh, they weren't going to be chasing 120. It wasn't going to be 119. It was going to be 70 or 80 something.
Yeah, and Siraj plays a Shubman Gill. He's like, well, that looks like a good shot. I think I'll play the same one. Charges it. So Lyon from around the wicket all day. Pretty much he came over the wicket occasionally for a few balls here and there, but basically getting the ball to straighten down the line, some of them keeping low, a couple going on straight, and he pretty much just hit that spot on the pitch again and again.
Last point on Lyon. Last night when I spoke to him after play, he was so proud of the younger spinners, Murphy and Kuhnemann, the role he's clearly playing in their development. Australia's spin stocks look very rich when he eventually retires, which I'm not saying is anytime soon, but he's in his mid-30s, that time will come. So he was super proud of what they achieved yesterday when he was, I guess, in a way, second fiddle taking 3 for. Today, the younger spinners were just enamoured with Lyon. You see the way they were coming up and hugging him after every wicket. Like, they're building something special, those 3, even if they have only been brought together in the last couple of weeks. And they've all played their role in this series. And not least Lyon, 8 for 64 today, and one of the best days of his career.
The final word Hall of Fame, that's what we're coming to now. When we pick our most final word moment of the day, I've got about 17 of them. It is brought to you by Visit Melbourne. The campaign is at visitmelbourne.com. That's where you can find out about our city. When you get there, you could go to De Graves Street. You like De Graves Street, don't you? That's where you go and you have a coffee, you wander around the Bluestone.
I'm surprised you've cited the Grave Street.
The Grave Street is one of the things that they want us to tell people about.
Oh, fair enough.
So
I mean, I love the Grave
should.
Street. It just doesn't strike me as... I mean,
it's less my thing than it is your thing, but that's because you drink coffee and I don't, because it makes me go to sleep.
I love the little subway that takes you out of Flinders Street Station, which, by the way, Flinders Street Station was mistakenly put there. That was meant to be the central station in Bombay, Mumbai.
I saw it. Bharat took me there and said, this is the one you guys were supposed to have.
Yeah.
They got mixed up in the mail, some sort of, Amazon switcheroo, and we ended up with the other one. And there is, when you think about it, there's something about Flinders Street Station that could be a little bit colonial Indian era. Like something about the yellow colouring and the stripes and the domes and whatever.
The Raj and all the rest of it. But when you go underneath there, you get into the little subway, you pop your head up and there are coffee shops everywhere. And there's a reason why there are more espresso machines in Melbourne by square metre than anywhere in the world, because, we bloody love the stuff. So come and join us.
And more artists in Melbourne. I once, in that De Grave subway, went to see a live Fringe show that was where the audience was a bunch of people who were sheltering in a bomb shelter at the end of the world. That's the kind of thing that can only happen in the De Grave Street subway.
And speaking of art, we're proud Melburnians. We're certainly not Sydney-siders. I once heard a factoid that there are twice as many concert tickets sold per year in Melbourne compared to Sydney. Never verified it, but it passes the sniff test.
Sounds good. So, Hall of Fame. One for Nathan Lyon for his reviewing. His reviewing was spot on all day. Good. And you could tell by the appeal when he was like, it wasn't there. When he got on the knee and did the jazz hands, you were like, he's going to refer this if it's not given. And the couple where he turned around straight away and went, yes, review, and they were all right. Joel Wilson, on the other hand, hasn't had a great test match, but it's hard work out there.
And someone should do a little remix to Joel Wilson. You're going to have to change your decision, mate. Like there were a number of Joel. Sorry, mate, you're going to have to change your decision in the same way that Menon had about 5 of those himself yesterday, the hometown umpire here in Indore. One that required no review was the why did he do that Shubman Gill moment. I mean, I'm a huge Shubman Gill fan. I'm glad he's back in the test team. But that was just lunacy. First over after lunch. I don't mind the dancing, but the trying to pop Nathan Lyon on the moon, having not got his eye back in after the break, the degree of difficulty on that is through the roof. The sort of opportunity cost, if you like, as well. And that meant that Australia got the incision after India played quite well until lunch. I mean, he gave them the gifted, precious first wicket. And we know in this test match, once you get one, how hard it can be to restart. So Shubman Gill, to an extent, I think, wears a lot of responsibility for India's second innings demise.
I'm going to nominate the faux hat-trick. If you've watched the show before, you all know that Adam's never seen a test hat-trick. Today, you saw Pujara's wicket fall, then you saw Umesh Yadav given out next ball LBW. It was overturned on review because it just happened to be missing the stumps. And then the ball after that, he clubs down the ground and he's caught by Cameron Green. So you did see 3 wickets fall in 3 consecutive deliveries in a test match. It just happens that one of them was chalked off after the fact.
And I was on commentary as well. And when he got the second one, the middle one that was chalked off, I don't think I wasn't excited. I'm like, Nathan Lyon bowling to Mohammad Siraj at number 11. Here we go. Here's the hat-trick. I've never... No. Missing leg.
No, missing leg. What's the one with the Shane Watt? You will never have a better opportunity to take a hat-trick than this. You didn't get the opportunity. My last one, and this is just a moment I particularly enjoyed, was Virat Kohli playing the uppercut over slip off a spinner. The ball from Matt Kuhneman that absolutely leapt. So Kohli's there with the bat in the back lift, ready to play some sort of, back foot defensive shot or whatever it is. And the ball just scoots up at him and almost just by instinct he goes, uh-oh, and just edges it over the top of first slip. And away for 4. The uppercut off a spinner. Have you ever seen an uppercut off a spinner? It was gorgeous.
Last nomination for all of our Indian fans who watched the episode last night. There weren't many of you.
No.
when India don't...
Talk about downhill skiers. Jesus Christ.
When India don't do well, people clearly aren't clicking. If you're watching today, having watched yesterday, we thank you. Yeah. Cricket isn't all about winning.
You're the real star.
I get that the Indian cricket team doing well brings a lot of joy to people's lives, but cricket brings a lot of joy anyway, even when your team isn't winning. Watch the videos regardless. It's worthwhile.
Look at us in the first 2 test matches. We're not flag wavers, but we've come here with a team from our home country to watch them get absolutely steamrolled, and we've had a great time nonetheless.
And we celebrated the cricket that was played along the way, and you should too. That's enough, I think.
Share the video around. If you want to help support the show further, patreon.com/thefinalword. It is The Final Word Daily. Visit melbourne.com. Check them out.
Buy your flights. And next holiday in Melbourne.
Yeah, just come and say good day. We'll be hanging around. I'll be in the De Grave Street subway thinking that it's the end of the world. We'll see you
Mumbai
tomorrow on day 3 and definitely not on any of the days after that.
Good night.